colleges, the high schools. If it's the sport you care about, we're talking about it. The Full Court Press on Sports Talk Radio, 106.9 FM, 1390 AM. The Fan.
A very happy second hour, a very happy middle of the week for you all. I'm Ajay Salvesen here on the Full Court Press, 106.9 FM, 1390 AM, The Fan. Streaming on 1069thefan.com. Don't forget you can also pick up our podcast. You can go to Stitcher, iTunes, and Spotify to find our latest episodes, bonus content material, which includes press conferences, post games, and other content material for your desire. Speaking of which, Utah State will have their press conference tomorrow to announce new coaching changes, which include their new offensive coordinator. They have announced here Bodie Reeder out of North Texas and formerly Eastern Washington. Is the new offensive coordinator for the Utah State Aggies. Meanwhile, Stacey Collins and Frank Male will serve as co-defensive coordinators, which moves Justin Enna to coach the inside linebackers. Now, Collins will, of course, coach the secondary, and Frank Male will coach the defensive line, while Mike Caputo will move to the offensive side of the ball and coach the tight ends. Other coaches that will remain in their roles will include Boje, who will coach the outside linebackers, Mark Orphy, who will coach the secondary. Again, those are roles that they served in the 2019 football season for Utah State. They look forward to hopefully making some changes as well after a very kind of a shocking end to the season. They lost to Air Force. They got blown out by Air Force, and in turn got blown out by BYU. They got demolished by Boise State. And then against Kent State in the Frisco Bowl, they give up 51 points to Kent State. Just a shocker for the Utah State Aggies to end their season the way they did. Now, meanwhile, I was looking, Doug Hoffman, who does an incredible job as the media relations director for football, sent out some final notes. And I want to read some of the notes and go over some things as we put a cap on the 2019 football season of the Utah State Aggies. I'm going to read through a few of these. Again, this is credit to Doug Hoffman. Utah State posted a 7-6 overall record in 2019, including a 6-2 mark in Mountain West play to finish third in the Mountain Division. It was just the 26th time in school history that USU has won at least 7 games, while its 6 league wins are tied for the 6th most in school history. USU also played in its 14th bowl game in school history in 2019, including its 8th in the past 9 seasons. Utah State played in a bowl game, as we just mentioned, for the 8th time in the last 9 seasons, 14th time in school history. It lost to Kent State 51-41 in the Tropical Smoothie Cafe Frisco Bowl. USU is 5-9 all-time in bowl games, which includes a 3-3 record against teams from the MAC Conference. Overall, it was USU's 3rd straight bowl game, which is the second longest streak in school history behind the 5 straight bowl games from 2011 to 2015. Utah State also was 3-1 on the season in one-score games. And in fact, they posted back-to-back wins against Fresno State and Wyoming, both 37-35 and 26-21 respectively. USU also notched a 23-17 win at San Diego State and had a 38-35 loss at Wake Forest. Now, those 3 one-score wins this year are the most by a USU team since 2011. Ironically, was, I believe, Gary Anderson's second year with the Aggies, when the team was 5-4 in such games under, of course, as we mentioned, Gary Anderson. USU is overall 13-11 in one-score games. They set 2 school records in 2019, completing 315 passes to break the previous record of 303 set in 2018, and attempted 504 passes to break the previous record of 487 set in 2002. Now, furthermore, USU had the second most passing yards at 3,628, and the third most made field goals at 21 in a single season in school history this season. They were among the top 40 teams nationally in 14 categories. Keep up here, including they were tied 4th in special teams touchdowns, make sure I read this right, with 3. 2 of them were kickoff returns, 1 punt return. 5th in fumbles recovered with 13. 15th in turnovers forced. They were 16th in 3-and-outs forced. 26th in punt returns. 28th in tackles for a loss. 31st in passing offense. 33rd with 2 defensive touchdowns. 35th in fewest penalty yards per game, and 39th in completion percentage. Looking ahead to the 2020 season, the Aggies will return 13 starters, 8 on offense, 5 on defense, 41 letter winners, 21 on offense, 18 on defense, 2 in special teams. From this year's squad, USC will lose 9 starters, 3 on offense, 6 on defense, and 16 letter winners, 6 on offense, 8 on defense, 2 in special teams. And overall at Utah State, the end of the 2019 season, of course, with a 7-6 record, as we already mentioned, third place in the Mountain Division. Offensively, USU was led, by junior quarterback Jordan Love, who is now entered in for the draft, who was 293 of 473 for a 61% completion percentage, 3,402 yards, which averages a 261 per game, 20 touchdowns, and 17 interceptions. Gerald Bright, the running back, led the team in rushing with 921 yards on 182 carries with 9 touchdowns. And senior graduate transfer COC Mariner had a team-best 63 catches for 987 and 10 touchdowns. Now, defensively, Troy LaFege Jr. led the team with 104 tackles, which included 2 sacks and 6 for a loss, while David Woodward had 90 tackles, which included 2 sacks, 5 for a loss. As a team, USU averaged 29 points, 431 yards on the offensive side, and allowed 30.5 points and 440.5 yards on the defensive side. Utah State's streak of 2,000-yard rushing seasons came to an end this year. In fact, they rushed for 1,979 yards, so they were 21 yards short of that on 461 carries. That was breaking a streak of 10 straight seasons with at least 2,000 yards of rushing in a season. The last time USU did not rush for 2,000 yards in a season was back in 2008 when it gained 1,653 yards on the ground. Utah State played 13 games for the 8th time in school history, ending with the Tropical Smoothie Cave Frisco Bowl, and they've played at least 13 games 8 times in the last 9 seasons after not doing so for more than 12 games in its prior to its current run. The school record for games played in a season is 14 set in 2013 and 14. Utah State's milestones that equal success. They won 34 of its last 40 games when it had a 100-yard rusher, including 4-1 record this year. They had 38. They won 30 of its last 42 when rushing at least 40 times in a game, including 5-1 record this year, and won 54 of its last 59 when scoring at least 30 points. They had a 5-2 record when such this season. Whew, that's a lot of numbers.
That was a lot of numbers.
That was a ton of numbers to give out.
That must have been exhausting.
Yeah, just reading it was exhausting, to be honest with you. Again, Utah State announces their new offensive coordinator at Bodie Reeder. He spent 1 year at North Texas, spent the previous years at Eastern Washington. Just prior to that, Stacy Collins and Frank Malley will serve as co-defensive coordinators, while Justin Enna will coach the defensive linebackers. It's a big change from this year's team. I mean, even if they went, 7-6, it's crazy.
Yeah. I honestly thought Utah State would, I should probably say this before I keep talking. I'm a BYU fan. So moving on, I thought that Utah State would just destroy people this year. I really did. I thought they were going to build off last season's success. I thought when they brought Gary Anderson back, I thought that he would keep that winning tradition from that season before going. But, it kind of fell off. The wheels kind of fell off at the end. I just thought that was super interesting to see.
Yeah, it was weird. I honestly did not see them losing to Kent State. I thought they were going to blow out Kent State, to be honest with you.
Yeah, same thing here.
I thought the weather was fine, and being at the stadium, it had rained a little bit most throughout the day, but it stopped raining, and so I thought, well, this is perfect for Jordan Love in this offense to go out and showcase the arm. But to give up, if you told me they were going to score 41 points, I told you they were going to win easily in a rout. I didn't see him giving up 51.
Yeah, that's to Kent State. I think we need to add that part a lot more to Kent State. That'd be unacceptable to me. But what do I know?
And obviously it was unacceptable to Utah State. That's why they made the change. They demoted Justin Enna. I say demoted, and it sounds harsh, but really it almost is. He's going to be coaching the inside linebackers now, giving way for Frank Malley. By the way, Frank Malley is an excellent, excellent, excellent football coach. I'm very happy for Frank. I really am, and for Stacy Collins, and to see what they can do together, in trying to make this happen for the Utah State Aggies and get this offense back on track. Or to me, this defense back on track. They lose a ton of talent. You lose Tipenalia. You lose David Woodward. You lose just defensive backs left and right, and you lose DJ Williams. Trolifez Jr. I think will be a good addition, or at least a good keeper to have. But on the defensive line, no Tipa. It's going to be interesting to see how they can handle this.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how they rebuild. I don't want to say it's a rebuild year because, this is college, but it is going to be interesting. You have a lot of key players who are moving on to the NFL or graduating, and I think that's partly one of the reasons why they decided to make the coaching changes that they did, is to help these kids who are moving on to become more, important roles, to help them along and, give more coordinated effort towards that goal.
What was the biggest shocker out of the college football season for you?
That LSU was going to be as good as it was.
Yeah.
That's absolutely stunning. And I think it's crazy that you guys got to play it this year. You got blown out, but it's kind of fun to see Utah State play an LSU team that went undefeated and destroyed Clemson.
I think for a lot of people say, yeah, it's fun, we got to play LSU, but it did so much damage to them.
Yeah.
In the aftermath, it did a ton of damage more than people noticed.
It really did. If you look at the schedule and then the win-losses, you can definitely tell that's when they kind of, they got shook up a little bit right there. And they just were never really able to make a consistent comeback to it.
Yeah, I think if I look at it and I say, man, if things would have gone differently, right? If they would have been able to beat Wake Forest. They lost that game by 3. If they beat Wake Forest, how does it change their season?
Yep.
If they don't play LSU and they play a team out of the Pac-12 or a team within their division or
even play
FCS
Utah.
Team.
Play Utah.
And that's a big problem too. And that's not on Utah State. That's on Utah.
Yep.
If they get to play Utah instead, why not allow them? Does that change their whole entire season?
Yeah.
Instead of going across the country, getting whipped by LSU, and it's not to their fault. LSU was just that dang good of a football team.
Yep.
Does it change anything in any way for them? And that's, I don't know, that's what always mattered to me.
Yeah, I agree. I think if they beat Wake Forest and then they go on to win the next 3 games that they had scheduled, which they did, you go into LSU 4-0. And I think that totally means everything. But then you lose to Wake Forest, and then you're also like, well, they're a Power 5 team. LSU's a Power 5 team. Well, I guess we can't beat a Power 5 team. But if you go into LSU with 4-0, I'm not saying maybe you beat LSU, but you make it more of a game instead of 42-6. And then at that point, then if you even keep it close with LSU, I think at that point you can beat anybody, especially Air Force, especially BYU, especially Boise, and especially Kent State.
Yeah, especially Kent State. Again, that's a game I just didn't see them losing to. Blows my mind.
Yeah.
Yeah, blows my mind. So again, they make some changes. Bodie Reeder is the new offensive coordinator at Utah State. Frank Maile and Stacy Collins have been called as co-defensive coordinators. Justin Enna will be now coaching the defensive linebackers. And everyone else kind of remains and resumes position as to where they were at. Utah State again finished 7-6 on the season. They open up the season in Pullman, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. They're at Washington State.
Yep.
Is that right?
Yeah, that's what I got. Yeah. Actually, no, it says it's at. I'm looking on FB schedules. It's at home.
It's at home. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. It's at home. And then I believe they play Washington, though, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep, they play Southern Utah and then Washington.
Yeah, so they're home against Washington State, home against Southern Utah, at Washington and Husky Stadium, and then at BYU right after that. In fact, they've got a bye before they play BYU. And then they get Boise State. They head right into conference play. Boise State on the road, Colorado State on the road, Nevada on the road, before they get 4 straight. Actually, that's not right. No, dates have not been announced yet. Sorry. But on the road, they'll be at Boise State, Colorado State, and Nevada. Home conference game will include Air Force, Fresno, New Mexico, San Diego, and they'll be at Wyoming, by the way. And I think the at Wyoming game will be the last game to finish off the season.
Yep, that's what I got too.
So, but I mean, again, you get Air Force at home, which helps. Fresno at home, which helps. San Diego State will be interesting as well. Hawaii is going to be an interesting team, but they don't even play Hawaii this year. minus Nick Rolovich, who has actually left to go coach Washington State.
Yeah, that's great.
So they get Nick Rolovich in game 1 of the year.
Yeah.
And so, by the way, it's been a coaching carousel in the Mountain West Conference. You got coaches either retiring, mutually parting ways, or leaving to another school. The coaches who have stayed Maine will be Utah State, Boise State, Wyoming, and is that it?
I think that's it.
I think that's it. I think everybody else has a coaching change. UNLV, Fresno State, San Diego State, New Mexico, and Hawaii.
Talk about big changes in the Mountain West Conference.
So a coaching carousel it is. You put the quarter in the merry-go-round and round it goes. But again, it's been crazy. And someone was telling me, I think I talked about this a couple days ago. They tweeted out that, and I don't know if this is the same for you as it is for me. So, I mean, since I do help out with, Aggie football stuff, people are like, man, the season flew by. I can't believe we're already in the last game of the year. For me, there's games where I'm like, dude, yeah, it feels like yesterday. Like San Diego State feels like yesterday when I went there. But Stony Brook, Colorado State, even Fresno State feels like forever ago.
Oh yeah, that's the same thing for me.
Because you're a BYU guy, right?
Yeah, And so I remember when we beat USC, the Trojans. I remember that
feels like yesterday.
Yeah, I remember that like crazy. But then I remember the Utah loss, and I thought, oh, that was like a year ago. We were better than that. We can handle that.
That's what's amazing. It's just, how.
How you just remember
if it
games.
goes by fast or if it actually picks up steam.
Yep.
And for me, it's always, and I think it's just because it was such a long, it always feels like a long season, and it's really not. It's only 12, 13 games. You hope it's 13. But it just, it just always feels like at the end, like, oh, it's like a marathon.
Yeah.
And sometimes you don't have the energy to get through. And, once again, 2019 football season has come to a conclusion in its entirety. Clemson follows short to LSU, 42-25. Man, LSU. Hey, okay, look, let me ask you this. I don't know how big you are into college football, but I still think LSU is one of the greatest teams to ever play in college football history.
I didn't believe that until they played Clemson, and I saw what they did to Clemson.
Changes your mind pretty quickly,
oh my
doesn't
goodness,
it?
Yeah. Because I honestly thought that Clemson, they had the number one defense. I thought Clemson is rolling into the playoffs like they've been there before. This is no big deal. I thought LSU would crumble under the pressure, but they didn't. They excelled under it, and that just really surprised me. So obviously, I think you have to put LSU into that one of the greats all-time college teams.
Hey, so I wanted to ask you because last year the big conversation was for BYU is that how hard their schedule was. They did play USC at home. They got Tennessee at home? No, it was at Tennessee.
It was at Tennessee, yes.
They got they got the Utes in the season opener. So let's go through the schedule this year and tell me about it. So they're at Utah to start off the year again. They get Michigan State.
Yep.
At home. They're at Arizona State, at Minnesota, Utah State at home. Missouri, Houston, NIU on the road, and then at Boise State, San Diego State at home, North Alabama, and then at Stanford to complete the season.
Man, that's a killer. That's a killer season.
So as a pre-prediction, because I don't know if you'll be with us in the fall or not, let's go win-loss mode. Early for BYU. At Utah, win or loss?
Win. I think Utah loses too many good seniors this year on their defense, and I think BYU figures them out.
Okay, so you're an optimist. They're 1-0 to start the season. Michigan at home.
Win.
2-0 at Arizona State.
Win.
3-0 at Minnesota.
Loss.
3-1. Utah State at home.
Win.
4-1. Missouri home.
Ooh. I'm going to have to go loss.
5-2 Houston at home.
The last time BYU played Houston, it was a grind of a match. That's when Taysom Hill kind of lit up. So I want to say win, but I'm going to have to go loss.
So 5-3 at Northern Illinois.
Win.
It's always a tricky game. So 6-3 at Boise State.
Oh, I didn't think they'd beat Boise State this year. They surprised me, so I'm going to have to go win.
Holy crap. 7-3. San Diego State at home.
Win. I think the loss that they had this year to San Diego sticks with them, and I think they push through and beat them this year.
8-3. Northern Alabama.
Win.
And then at Stanford.
Loss.
So we're looking at, what, 9-4?
9-4, yep.
Wow, you are an optimistic young man.
You know, honestly, I just believe that I think BYU had a good starting point this year. I was surprised with the teams they beat. Granted, a lot of the teams they beat were not that good. Tennessee and USC, they kind of fell off at the end. But I mean, I still think Coach Kalani Sitake figures it out, and I think that they put together a decent season.
Huh. All right.
But we'll see. That's just Adam the intern speaking here.
That's Adam. Well, that's a BYU enthusiast.
Well, yeah, you know.
Let's be honest with each other.
Yeah, these picks are for entertainment purposes only. just had to get that out
there. That's good. Were you surprised that BYU beat Utah State as bad as they did?
Yes.
Me too. I was stunned.
I was stunned. I thought that Jordan Love would just dominate the Cougars, and it just did not happen.
6843 wants to tell you that those are rose-colored glasses that you're looking through right
Rose-colored?
And I could not agree more, actually, with all due respect.
Rose-colored? No, they're blue-colored. I've been drinking the Kool-Aid. I've got the glasses on. Here we go.
You just calm down.
What are you talking about? I'm excited.
Jeez, calm down. All right, and by the way, going back to that BYU game against Utah State, I was stunned. At home, I thought Utah State would gather themselves, reset, after a tough game against Air Force, be ready to go to play BYU, and they just get smacked around.
Yeah, that was
stunning to me.
That was my reasoning as well. I really thought that since USU was coming off a loss at Air Force and coming into BYU, an in-state rival, I mean, one of the few in-state rivals who actually play each other. Screw you, Utah. Anyways.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of Utah.
Well, that's obvious.
Anyways, and I thought Utah State would roll into the game ready to go, but it just did not happen.
All right, well, speaking of Mountain West Conference action, tonight's basketball action, Utah State Aggies are on a bye, so here's how the schedule looks. Boise State is at Air Force tonight in Clune Arena. New Mexico is at Colorado State at Moby Arena in Fort Collins, Colorado. And San Jose State is at UNLV at 9 p.m. The other two games are at 7 o'clock. New Mexico at Colorado State. It's on ESPN3. Coming back. Sorry, I got hiccups, dude. I freaking drank all this soda that I shouldn't have drank.
Yeah, that was a bad choice.
Now I'm regretting it.
You know, it happens. What are you going to do?
But coming back, we're going to get into some NFL Football Hall of Fame. Two coaches were inducted in a really cool way. The rest of the inductees, get in here, John Russell. Get in here. Yes, you can. The rest of the inductees will be announced, or actually have been announced, and a couple of guys left off that I'm not happy with. And we just had a surprise visitor, and he doesn't want to be on the air because he likes to stay like he's like, I'm low key. That's baloney. That's absolute baloney, and he knows it too.
I don't even have a headset here.
Hey, you do. It's right there.
This is how you work, Ajay. It's not plugged in.
Oh, yeah, dude. I don't do headsets, man. If I don't have to, I don't want to.
Hey, listening, big news out of campus with all the changes. Well, with the changes.
Absolutely.
To the coaching staff.
I want to get your thoughts on this.
Well, I do got to run. Happy birthday to my son, 18 today, for Jackson.
Dude, big deal.
I'm now old, officially. So for all of them. You know, the one thing that, in my opinion, doesn't get enough recognition, Yost leaving as the offensive coordinator. I realize the defense was a big issue. There are a lot of concerns as far as what happened to the defense on the football side. But the offense just didn't click like it had in the past. And I think that had an ongoing effect with the defense. When your defense is on the field as much as it is, I think that it just wore down.
So really quickly, John Russell joining us here. He does the Aggie postgame for basketball. Does a great job. Two quick questions. One, are you surprised that Justin Enna was demoted to be an inside linebackers coach?
I think what you saw is there were probably just some feelings within the circles that there needed to be a change. The defense struggled, and I heard you guys talking about Kent State. Yeah, that was a disappointing loss, but when you look at the fact, here's a team that had finished the season as strong as they did. Keep in mind they won a lot of games to get where they needed to be. They were excited to be there. It was a bowl game they really wanted to go to. We've seen this in the past with the Aggies losing to New Mexico State. really lose to New Mexico State. First bowl they had been to in years. I mean, that doesn't play well. But Kent State was playing well, but the defense struggled. And sometimes you got to make changes just to shake things up, and I think that's what you saw.
USU basketball has to bye tonight. They get ready for Boise State in Boise State, where Boise's 8-1 at home. Yeah. What have you seen so far? Can you just give us a quick run in your thoughts of what you've seen out of USU basketball thus far?
Well, you hate to say this because it sounds like a lot of of media talk, but Utah State went into this season with a huge bullseye on their back. It's a lot easier to be coming into the season picked to finish 9th in conference and to have a lot of things click, which they did this year or last year. This year, they came in with a lot of people looking at, when they looked at the schedule, their teams that they look at. We want to beat San Diego State. We want to beat New Mexico in the pit or the pies bowl, whatever it is now, the custard pie cream filled jelly dome, whatever it is now. Anyway, but the reality is now Utah State's the team that's being circled. And there was a lot of talk with Nemi being out at the beginning of the year and what that meant. Well, they went into it knowing he wasn't going to be there. So they were able to plan where they were at and what they needed to do. And I think there was a little bit lower expectation with Nemi not being there. Keep in mind, with Nemi coming back, you've got to redo the entire system. You've got to redo even though
do you really though?
I think so, because defensively your schemes change. Offensively, now you've got this added presence, and guys that were used to getting looks aren't necessarily getting those looks. And in a way, they've had to learn how to play together, and they had to play together against 3 tough teams. San Diego State, one of 2 unbeaten teams left in college basketball. I don't think Auburn's lost yet.
That's correct.
I think they play tonight. You've got Air Force, who's always so tough to play just because of the way that they play. It's the nature of what they do. They're not going to be the biggest team. They're not going to be the most athletically gifted, but they're about the smartest ones out there, and they run a system that works for them. I think what you saw is just the Aggies kind of ran into a tough spot at a tough time, and I think you're going to see them coming together. There's still some people need to step up. I mean, Nemi and Sam can't carry this team. You're going to need somebody to come up and do some more things. Diogo's got to get out of his slump. Brock Miller has got to start hitting the threes. I liked for the first time all year he was a little more aggressive offensively and actually took some 2-point shots. I think he even got to the line. Brock, I don't care if you score 20 points against St. Catherine's or Eastern Oregon. You need to step it up. You just need guys, Abel Porter, maybe a little more offensively minded. And keep in mind, we found out Justin Bean has been playing hurt. This week will be good for him to get a little healthy. I think there's some good things in there, but please, Aggie fans, don't expect these 25 point blowouts like we've seen. We've got a target on our back.
Who's the newcomer that surprised you the most so far, in a good way?
Well, Fawn started off really well, but I think, the reality of big-time ball kind of caught on him. I love the game that Bairstow played last.
Absolutely.
But that's one game. Can he continue to do it? I've been a proponent of giving him more time. He's not going to get 25 minutes a game, but 10, 12, 15 minutes a game, if they're productive like he was against Nevada, man, I'd love to see that.
That's John Russell. He does Aggie post game for basketball on 6:10 a.m. KVNU. You can find him post game. Does great work, and always good to have him here on the show. All right, coming back, we'll talk Pro Football Hall of Fame, 106.9 FM, 1390 AM, The Fan.
Interviews, analysis, and a little bit of fun mixed in. The Full Court Press on Sports Talk Radio, 106.9 FM, 1390 AM, The Fan.
There was something so pleasant about that place. Even your emotions have an echo in so much space.
Ajay, Salvesen here on the Full Court Press, 5:33 your time here in the second hour on a Wednesday, January 15th. Halfway through the week, halfway through the month already as we get you ready for February. All-Star game will be coming up in February. Will Rudy and Donovan Mitchell be a part of it? That's the question everybody's kind of laying on to right now in the state of Utah. Has Rudy done enough? The answer to all Utah people is yes. Has Donovan done enough? The answer would be yes. Minus Steph Curry, minus Klay Thompson, I would say Donovan's in. Rudy, still a question mark, really, to be honest with you. We're not exactly sure whether that's going to land or stay. The NFL Football Hall of Fame came out with their inductees. And there was actually a couple of cool ways. So usually, I mean, they have them like sit in this hotel and they wait it out, you know, to find out if they're going to be announced or not. Well, they decided to do it a little bit differently. And for at least two people in particular. I'm going to make sure I have the right link here. Adam, the intern, joins me. Are you a big, you're an NFL guy, no?
Yeah, I'm okay.
No, you're not.
It's not my forte. NBA basketball is my forte, but I'll pay attention to the NFL.
Only like during the Super Bowl, and you only do it for commercials, huh?
What are you talking about? I pay attention.
So two coaches were announced in surprising fashion. The first one on Saturday afternoon, and this coach gave the AFC some troubles during the mid-'90s.
Jackson. Yeah, he is special. And, you know, Bill, there's something else special here. Hey, who's this big fella?
Hey, I'm sorry to interrupt
David.
here. Good to see you, Phil.
Good to see you, man.
You betcha. Sorry, man. I was trying to knock on a door back there, but you don't have a door.
Knock it down.
Knock it down. Hey, Coach, for your viewers out there who don't know, I'm David Baker, president of the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And on behalf of all of those of us who love this game and the Pro Football Hall of Fame, it is my great privilege.
This isn't right that this is happening right now, but...
Okay, never mind.
No, please come back. Come back here, David.
Coach, I want to thank you for all you've done for the game, for all you're going to do for the game. And I want to welcome you to Canton, Ohio, where your bronze your legacy is going to live forever. Congratulations, Coach. Love you.
Guys, folks, did you see him hugging his wife, V, his daughter, Megan? As tearful as Bill is.
Wow.
Wow. Hey, check, Mr. Baker, good to see you again.
It's really good.
Hey, folks, keep this in mind. Out of 29,000 people who played the game, coached the game, or contributed to the game, Bill Cowher is now the 327th one in the Hall of Fame, 182nd living one. Coach, speech.
You know, I was just telling V, I says, I've come to grips. I'm okay if it doesn't happen. I've been so blessed. And I would just say this, for those 8 candidates, every one of you deserve to be there. Football is a total team sport. I had some great players, some great coaches, the best organization in football. I've lived a blessed life. I've come to the best network on TV. It's a family here like it was a family that we had there. And to give back to something, to the game of football, it's been a part of my life. The virtues that it teaches you, the morals that you have the obligation to move on, the platforms that we have. You know, I'm a blessed man, and I've been very blessed to be surrounded by some very special.
That's right. Bill Cowher, former coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers, one of the greatest coaches, too, in the AFC. He only won one Super Bowl. One Super Bowl. But it was his effect on the AFC, his effect on, I mean, they talked about his effect on players, that, you know, you look at the Steelers' legacy, right? Chuck Noll, and then, of course, you get Bill Cowher who comes in, and for him to take the Pittsburgh Steelers, or at least bring them back into relevancy, and the way he did it, and I mean, look, he's on the doorstep for maybe a Super Bowl or more. Really, he lost to the Cowboys. Their defense came up with a big turnover in '95. Probably should have won it in 2001 when the Patriots went to their house and Tom Brady gets injured and Drew Bledsoe comes in. And they still can't finish the job because of Cordell Stewart was like overthrowing his receivers by 40 yards. It's incredible. That he's only won one Super Bowl out of it. And people are complaining, like, how does he get in? Why did he get in? And I think it's more his impact on the players. Speaking of impact on the players, this guy also had one as well. And this one had quite the success with of course, America's team.
Thank you, Coach, for all you've done for the game. Thank you for all you're going to do for the game. Thank you for the history that you've made and the lives that you've impacted. Thank you. It's my great honor to tell you that you're going to be the 328th Hall of Famer into the Pro Football Hall of Fame And your legacy is going to be in Canton, Ohio forever. Congratulations, Coach. Congratulations. Coach.
Great. Hey, bud. Oh, my God. That is awesome.
I think watching in green. Jimmy overcoming emotion right now. But tell us what's going on.
Yeah.
The only thing I can think of is all the assistant coaches that have worked for me, all the great players that have played for me, they're the reason I'm here. And they're the reason I can't talk.
All right.
No.
Where's your bottle?
I mean, this is so special to me because when you put in the work that we put in, it's nice to know people appreciate it.
We love you, JJ.
Love you,
Amen to that, brother. Love you. Congratulations. Jimmy Johnson, the latest member of the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Of course, yesterday, Bill Cowher was announced as the newest member as well. Congratulations to him. The full class will be announced on NFL Network on Wednesday on Good Morning Football.
How about that? Coach Jimmy Johnson, coach of the America team, where after his first season with the Cowboys, he went 1-15. So how does he respond? Back-to-back Super Bowls, both over the Buffalo Bills. He was really in a disgraceful manner by Jerry Jones, was dismissed, went back and coached the Dolphins, and then led the Dolphins to 3 straight playoff appearances with Dan Marino underneath center. A couple things I want to get to. First of all, the rest of the class has been announced as I think it was Jim Brown, wasn't it? Not Jim Brown, Jay Brown. Whoever the host was of that show, I can't remember who it is, talked about that on Wednesday morning on the NFL football that they would announce the other inductees, and they have been announced, including contributors Paul Tagliabue, who is a commissioner from 1989 to 2006 in the National Football League, George Young, who is a contributor, general manager, 68 to 74 with the Baltimore Colts, 75 to 78 with the Dolphins, and 79 to 97 with the Giants. Talk about winning and winning consistently. That would do it for you. And then, of course, one of the greatest ever in the NFL community, and that's Steve Sable, who is the administrator and president from 1964 to 2012 with NFL Films. That award could not be given to any more of a better man who created such an industry. When I was a kid, my mom and dad would buy me these little highlight videotapes of the Super Bowls, and I'd watch them until they ruined the VCR. I would watch them at nonstop. And I'm so grateful for that. Steve Sable, who is the leader over that, was able to get to be led into the NFL Football Hall of Fame. So a couple of other things along with that is the other finalists, which include, I have the list here. Forgive me, I'm just trying to search for all these papers I've been given.
Well, just while Ajay's looking for his papers, I mean, just the way that the 2 coaches were announced, that's the way you induct somebody into the Hall of Fame.
You don't make them sit in a hotel for hours and be like, well, we don't know if you're going to get it. We'll find out. Yeah.
Right, exactly. You get that raw emotion because that is a once-in-a-lifetime thing to be told you're going to the Hall of Fame. Once in a lifetime. And to see that just raw emotion is amazing.
Did you love the reaction by the 2 coaches that were totally different? Bill Cowher's like, this isn't right.
Yeah.
And Jimmy Johnson's like, oh my gosh, I'm going to make it.
Right.
Now, what's really interesting about that, speaking of which, Jimmy Johnson, which joined the Dan Patrick Show, you can hear that show on this very station, 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. every single morning, Monday through Friday. This was Jimmy Johnson talking to Dan Patrick about that announcement.
Jimmy, good morning. Congratulations. I got a feeling Terry Bradshaw's not good at keeping secrets. Did you get any idea that this was going to happen live on TV?
Dan, no, it was a shock to all of us because, Terry, none of the guys knew. Our producer knew. He told me later on, but he didn't let any of us know. And, I thought that there was a chance that I was going to get in, but I didn't anticipate this happening during halftime. My mind was racing. I was all ready to do halftime and talk about the coverage that Seattle had against Green Bay and stuff, and all of a sudden Dave Baker walks out, and I was in shock, and I think all of our other guys were too, and they were as excited as I was. It was really a great moment.
And Troy Aikman was in the broadcast booth and overwhelmed by. I think he cried as much as you did.
Well, I was put into the College Football Hall of Fame about 7 or 8 years ago, and that was obviously special because I coached in college for a long time. But this was really something because people don't realize, the Cowboys. Tom Landry's one of the greatest coaches that's ever been, but they had 3 losing seasons in a row. And they were 3-13 when we went to the Cowboys. I mean, really, the cupboard was bare, and to take that team from 1-15 to 4 straight losing seasons and to win back-to-back Super Bowls was quite an accomplishment. And I'm not saying for me. I'm talking about my assistant coaches. The Norv Turners, the Dave Wanstedts, the Tony Wise. Really, the guys that helped me, and then all the great players that we ended up having, with the Cowboys. It was quite an accomplishment, and it was nice to be recognized for that.
When you first started out with the Cowboys and you went through those lean years, did you ever think that you were in jeopardy of being fired?
Oh, no. I mean, first of all, I had a 10-year contract. But I guess we were so naive. We went 3-1 in preseason. We didn't realize how bad we were. But of course, we were trying to win every game at preseason. I was a college coach. I didn't know. I thought you were supposed to win those preseason games. And we had so much success. We only lost 2 regular season games in 4 years coming from University of Miami. So we were so naive, we were thinking we were just going to walk into the NFL and just start beating everybody. Well, it doesn't work that way, especially when you don't have a lot of talent on your team. And so, I mean, I think that's the biggest thing is that, we were very confident that we were going to win. I actually told the guys during that 1-15 year, I took, my inner circle crew, Wanstead and, Butch Davis and Campo and, Norv and all of them. I said, listen, guys, I said, I told you we're going to win a national championship, when we were together at Oklahoma State, and we won that national championship at Miami. I said, hang with me. We're going to win us a Super Bowl eventually. And it eventually happened.
For more don't forget, Dan Patrick joins us on 106.9 FM, 1390 AM, The Fan, 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. Monday through Friday. You know what the coolest thing about that was?
What, Ajay?
Is that Terry Bradshaw. I wish everybody had a friend like Terry Bradshaw. People are like, whoa, geez, Terry, calm down. No, you calm down. I would love to have a friend who was that excited about something.
Yeah.
I mean, the way he responded, I think, is what made it so cool.
Yeah, it was a real human emotion. It just wasn't a bunch of guys talking around a table, just like, oh, that was cool. Like, you actually got to see how exciting this is, because it is an exciting thing.
Yeah. No, it is. And again, Jimmy Johnson, who finished his career 80-64, this is what impressed me the most. In Dallas, he went 7-1 in the postseason. 7-1. His lone loss was to the San Francisco 49ers in 1994. That game held at Candlestick Park.
It's absolutely stunning.
He owned the 49ers, though. He owned them. He beat them back-to-back NFC Championship years, lost to them in 94, went back in 95, beat the Packers in the NFC Championship, won another Super Bowl. The guy was incredible. Like, how Jerry Jones did him the way he did just disgust me. Absolutely grossed me out. Even with Barry Switzer, Barry Switzer got him from Oklahoma, and he was a yes ma'am kind of guy. It just annoys me. I think Jimmy Johnson got did wrong by Dallas, but I think this is a really good punch to the Wachobies of Jerry Jones.
Yep.
Because this tells you what the NFL thought about Jimmy Johnson.
Yep. I totally agree.
As much as Jerry Jones is pissed about, I could care less. By the way, I was looking at this, and you see the big man come into the video to announce who's going into the Hall of Fame. You see him knock on the hotel door. I was doing some research because I want to know who the heck is this guy.
I had no idea who he was.
And he's like, my name's David Baker. I'm the president of the Hall of Fame. I'm like, okay, well, David Baker, let's find out about who you really are, shall we? So I did some research. David Baker stands at 6'9" and is 400 pounds. Let's imagine that frame. Like, you see his monstrous hands shake like Jimmy Johnson. He thought he was going to kill him.
Oh, yeah. Dude, he's
a
massive.
monster. He was the commissioner of the Arena Football League for a few years, and then left. So he was an owner he was an owner of a football team. Left him after one season to go be a commissioner. He was this will catch you off guard. Actually, this will surprise you. Where is it? He was he committed fraud for like $48,000 in some kind of a process that he was a part of, right? So he committed fraud. And got in trouble for that.
Of course.
And this is before he became a commissioner and then the owner of the league. And then later on became the president of the Hall of Fame in Canton, Ohio. So now he gets to go and knock on everybody's doors and announce, hey, you are announced to the Football Hall of Fame. Congratulations.
You made it.
See, you can get yourself from all the way down and get yourself all the way up. Oh, here it is. So he was, he played professional basketball in Switzerland, convicted of forgery for trying to finance an unsuccessful congressional campaign with a $48,000 check he wrote to himself, became commissioner of the Arena Football League right before it went bankrupt. And like I said, now he gets to go around and just hang out in a really nice suit and go tell people they've been selected for the Hall of Fame. And he seems like the nicest guy in the world.
Oh, yeah. When he came on to give Bill his, announced that Bill had made it, I mean, he seemed like the kind of guy I would want to hang out with.
Yeah, right? Speaking of which, other inductees into the Hall of Fame are as follows. Player-wise, it's Harold Carmichael, Jim Covert, Bobby Dillon, Cliff Harris of the Dallas Cowboys. In fact, he didn't get it in 2004 and has now waited this long to get in. Drew Pearson is still waiting to get in, and in fact, there's a video of Drew Pearson waiting, and when he didn't get announced, he was extremely frustrated. Tackle Winston Hill, the New York Jets, made it. Defensive tackle Alex Karras of Detroit Lions. Donnie Shell, Duke Slater, Max Beatty were the players that made it, and of course, Bill Cowher, Jimmy Johnson, Steve Sable, Paul Tagliabue, and George Young are the others that have been announced. So that is your NFL 2020 class of the Football Hall of Fame. A lot of guys they left out that are just, it's crazy. I don't know how I've not made it. Drew Pearson really is one of those guys that I feel really bad for. All right, coming back, we'll wrap up the show. We'll get ready for Thursday's show. It's all here on the Full Court Press. I'm Ajay Salvesen, 106.9 FM, 1390 AM, The Fan.
It's the Full Court Press, weekday afternoons from 4 to 6 on Sports Talk Radio, 106.9 FM, 1390 AM, The Fan.
Final 60 seconds of the show. Ajay Salvesen, Adam, the intern, joins me here on the Full Court Press. 106 on FM, 1390 AM, The Fan. Boy, what a full show that was. Don't forget, tomorrow, Con Smith at 5 o'clock. The great legendary assistant to Bobby Knight at Indiana University. And then, of course, for Team USA, fishing stories galore. You'll get them all tomorrow. That's an interview. I'm telling you right now, please do not miss that interview. It's going to be a dandy with Con Smith. We're grateful for him taking a few minutes of his time to join us. Utah Jazz basketball gets ready to play the New Orleans Pelicans. We'll preview that game. We'll also get you ready for, we'll have the USU press conference for football as they announce their new offensive coordinator, Bodie Reeder, and the new defensive staff of Stacey Collins and Frank Mahle joining together as co-defensive coordinators. For Tyler Baldwin, for Adam the intern, I'm Ajay Salvesen. Thank you so much for joining us on the Full Court Press. We'll talk to you on a Thursday evening.
Every year,